Good afternoon, teachers. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our new online workshop. Please, let's wait for a couple of minutes or probably just 5 minutes. Um, Something is going on with the speaker joining the session. Hold on, please. Jose. Jose Carlos, are you there? Just to make sure what your name is here. I cannot find you with Jose Carlos. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Let's wait for a few minutes, please. More teachers are joining the session. I'm trying to fix a thing with the speaker. Hold on. We're about to start with our new online workshop, teachers. Um, Speaker is already here, but something is going on with his connection. Please just give us a few more minutes. In the meanwhile, we're waiting for more teachers to join the session. For some reason, I cannot see him. Oh, no, just 1 second, please.
Hi.
Hello, Jose Carlos. Just a second, please. I'm trying to set you as a co-host or host. Mm, okay, there it is. Are you able to share your screen now, just to make sure before we start? Could you please turn on your camera just to check everything is okay? Okay, there you go. Okay, we're about to start, teachers. Thank you for joining our new online workshop. Good afternoon, everybody. So I hope not only Peruvian teachers join us today, we also have teachers from Chile, Ecuador, Bolivia. So welcome, everybody. As many of you already know me, my name is Judith Llerena, and I represent Macmillan Education. It's a pleasure to have you all here in our July's online workshop, exclusively for teachers in language centers and higher education institutions. So I'm very pleased to introduce Jose Carlos Manrique. He's the CEO and co-founder of Change, a company that is changing language education in Peru. So he has been in charge of innovation team, and thanks to his work, he was selected as a 2017 Fellow of the Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative, a program sponsored by the Department of States of the U.S. So he leads the team of teachers and trainers at Change, and they specialize on designing tailor-made English programs and innovating teaching methodologies. So welcome, Jose Carlos. It's a pleasure to have you here. The session is all yours. Let's start.
Okay, great. Okay. Hi everyone. So I hope we don't have more hiccups with technology. It's been years and years using it, but there's always something new that goes on. So I'm happy to be with you. It's been a hectic day for me. Hopefully it hasn't been as busy as it was for me as it is for you. Okay. So we're going to have fun. Um, I like doing this very practical, but we also need to cover some theory. So this is task-based learning that we are going to cover. So I'm not going to talk that much right now, since we already are a little bit late with 8 minutes. So let's start. I'm happy to share my. Let's try this out. Boom. I think that's good. Hmm. Okay. So I guess everybody's watching my screen right now, or looking at my screen, and then let's just test things out. So we are going to work on task-based learning. Here we go. So the first thing we need to do is to introduce a little bit. So this is bringing task-based learning into your English classes. J. Manrique, well, the official name is Jose Carlos, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that in a minute. And this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to have a brief introduction with some theory. I'm going to ask you some questions too, because I prefer um, um, a little bit of interaction. I know this is a webinar. There are some limitations on the way you interact, but there's still, you can type there in the chat. I will try to pay attention to everything there. Then we will probably, you have used task-based learning, so we're going to see some definitions, or you're going to give me the definitions. I'm going to give you more than hands-on examples. We are going to work on one example that you're going to pretend being a student. And then we will work on designing your own tasks with some prompts. And then I'm going to share you the secrets of making this successful, because task-based learning, it's fun, but depending on yeah, on where you teach, the group of students, and how you teach, it gets a little bit more complicated depending on some variables. There are some successful case studies, a couple of them, and then we're going to have a wrap up. So get ready for that. Okay, so continuing with this, let's go for the introduction, and let's start with me. Ah ha ha. Okay, so you already know that I'm Jose Carlos, but I go by Jota, and because that is the character I created when I became an English teacher. Okay, so when you see me as Jose Carlos, I'm pretty serious and shy. When I'm Jota Manrique, it's a different person, but that's what worked for me as a teacher and as a teacher trainer. I have trained teachers for quite a bit of time, 20 plus years of teaching. I started when I was 17, so it's been a fun ride. So I'm at your service. You can ask everything that you want. I know that some people are from Peru, so that's the first question because I need this. Okay, for this to be successful, um, I need to know where you're from. I see one hello from Peru. So if there are people from different countries, just type it in the chat so I can adapt one part of the presentation. So we have people from Chile. Paulina is from Chile. We have people from Peru. Probably I know some of you. I don't know. From a previous webinar for training, we have from Peru. Most of you are from Peru then. Okay. I like saying hello. It's good. Now, if you are like me, you haven't had lunch, so it's tough for to have a webinar like right now. I teach in Peru. Eliana from Peru. Blanca. Okay, nice. From Arequipa. Oh, Jose Paz. I think I know you. I think I know you. I don't know. It sounds Andrea Medina. Sounds familiar too. Sounds familiar. People that are there sounds familiar. Okay, good. So it's good. Most of you are from Peru. I read that someone was from Ecuador, Chile. Okay, people from Chiclayo. Oh, that's good. We're going to if we are from Peru, we can personalize this for in cities. Good. Okay, Katia Leon from Lima. So let's see. Okay, now one thing that I have to tell you, it's not that I'm ignoring you or looking at something else or watching a game. My setup is really weird. I have two screens and my camera is here. So sometimes I'm looking at this screen, sometimes I'm looking at the other screen, and sometimes I will be looking at the camera. So it's like, it's not that I'm ignoring you or doing other things, but it's the setup that I have. Now, task-based learning, why is it relevant? Okay, let's go with some theory. Think about your students, their needs and objectives, then think about the learning objective of different levels. So let's work on the first part. So I know you are from Peru, Ecuador, Chile, and different parts of Peru, obviously. So I need to know, who do you teach? Do you teach kindergarten? Do you teach primary school, college students, adults? Are they learning to prepare for an international exam, academic English in general, business English? What is the profile of your students? What are their objectives and what age? Can you put it in the chat? College students, teens, adults, undergraduate students. You are going for university, primary, and secondary, kids and teenagers. Oh, we have a variety here. This is going to be a challenge. Oh, okay, okay. College students. That is the age. So far, we are getting only that answer, like the age group. Young adults. Now, let's talk about a little bit more about their needs. Why are they studying English? So why are they studying English? What do they want to achieve? Okay, they needed to graduate, college requirements, working students in the evenings. They have to. Okay, that's the reality of a lot of the students, or their parents force them to study. Okay, uh, teachers at university, they are all very nice. It's mandatory to get their degree. Okay, Okay, they have to. Most of us are in that part that it's mandatory. So the key point is okay, travel. I like that one to get the degree. Now, let's think about that group because it's the majority. No, they want to continue growing professionally. So even if it is something that they are forced to do, if we talk about English for a requirement to get a degree or to grow professionally, how are they going to use English in their lives? Some of them don't care right now, but believe me, it's going to happen. How professionals would use it? They are dating a native speaker. Great motivation. So task-based learning oriented to that should be directed at parties. But anyway, so how do you think English is going to be useful for your students? Forget about that it's obligatory for them. How will it become useful? Interact with their bosses, do some research, and we are getting to the motivation part. Because right now, with technology, a lot of the companies like have bosses in other countries. They have to communicate with the world. If you have a higher level of English and you're working for an international company, what benefits can you have? Think about that. Communicate with your colleagues, apply for better jobs, networking. They will use in business or tourism, international seminars. So it opens a lot of doors. It's a cliche, no? In other countries because they travel abroad often. So that is the key point, the motivation. So if they are learning, even if they don't realize right now, you can make them realize the benefits that they're going to have. So that is super important. Get more job opportunities. If you're teaching, focusing only on the content, then it's very difficult to motivate them. And it's even more difficult when you have college students that are actually studying just for the requirement of it. They use the language at work, other works multinational companies, but they don't speak the language. They need it. Work on that. They need it. Okay? They need it. When you find what they need, task based learning is easy to use. Okay? Now, the next question is a little bit more technical. We have to match your student needs with your students' and objectives with what the experts tell you of the learning objectives of different levels. So if you think about scales of learning, like how do people measure their levels, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What framework do we normally use? Forget about the basic, intermediate, what international levels? What levels are there internationally speaking? Yeah, the European framework. Okay, the CEFR. Okay, what levels are there? A1, A2. The first certificate is a B2, A1, A2, A to C1, A2 to C2. Okay, so you know we know this. Okay, so the thing is that sometimes we just forget about them, and it's really important when you match. Okay, and we complicate our lives more than we should. So you know those levels. Let's go for the definitions that we have. Independent. There you go. Katia is like pasted. I think Katia Leon is using right now is attending the webinar with ChatGPT on the screen and posting and then getting the information super fast. Okay, yeah, haha, I knew it. Okay, so anyways, this is elementary. Okay, this is elementary. The first one is elementary. Learners who achieve A1 elementary can communicate using familiar everyday expressions. These are the formal definitions. Okay, but something that I want you to notice. Okay, some things that I want you to notice is this. Okay, we have familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases. Okay, introduce themselves. So everything is about me in A1. It's like interrogatory level. It's like think of a police officer, personal information, familiar. Let's see A2. So we are still in basic, which pre-intermediate some people call it. Learners who achieve A2 per intermediate communicate using everyday situations. They can interact in simple and indirect exchange of information. They can describe around them. So far, we haven't extended more than me. Well, probably you have extended a little bit about your family, your friends, but it's still your world. Nothing else. Okay, so it's like something familiar to you, but you're expanding it a little bit, but it's still you. You are not talking about weird things that you don't know about. You are not talking about advanced topics. Everything is about your life. Let's see, maybe in intermediate, this is going to change. Now, these definitions are the official definitions. It's not my invention, it's what they say. Okay, like the CFR. Okay, big one. Learners who achieve a big one intermediate level can understand information about, one more time, we're talking about familiar topics. They can communicate in most situations while traveling in an English speaking area. So, somebody that mentioned that the students want to travel, they need to get to a big one to enjoy traveling in an English speaking area. So, you already know your objective, the level. With a big one, you can start enjoying, but it still is you, and you. Okay, because it's familiar topics. They can write simple connected on familiar topics. We are still in B1, intermediate, and we continue talking about familiar topics. Okay, now this explanation is why task-based learning is so important. Okay, upper intermediate, let's see if we have a different thing here. Learners who achieve B2 upper intermediate can understand the main idea of complex text. So it's more difficult and all that. Interact with fluency and communicate easily. They can write clear, detailed texts on wide range of topics and express their opinions. So in a B2 level, so upper intermediate is when you start expanding the world of the student. Okay, so it's when they start talking about things that they are not familiar with, or probably things that they don't like. Okay, things that are not relevant to them. And sometimes we try to do that since they are in basic level. Now, task-based learning focuses on this principle, okay, that it has to be something relevant to their lives, and that's why it has impact, and that's why it becomes easier to learn a language. Okay, so B2, it starts expanding. In what level you start talking about topics that you don't care about and you have to learn about them? C1 and C2. Okay, is when I, for example, I'm a teacher. I'm a software engineer, but since I have a C2 level, I can talk about medicine. I don't like, but if we have a conversation about medicine, I can use the jargon, the vocabulary, and all that. Those are C2 levels. Okay, so that is that's why it's very difficult to get to those levels. But we're not talking about that right now. A1, A2, B1, and B2. We're talking about your world, and in B2 we expand it a little bit more. Okay, so consider that. Now, to give you another reference, what do you see there? What are those four things that you have there? We have Cambridge for school, Cambridge, TOEFL, IELTS, international exams. Okay? Now, if you prepare for international exams, you're going to see that task-based learning is something that is very useful too. Now, and they follow the same principle. Just let's start with these two. We have Cambridge for schools and Cambridge. Why do you think we have Cambridge for schools and we have Cambridge examinations for adults, if you want to say? So, and let's analyze. If you check, which levels do we have for schools and which levels we don't have for schools? If you say A2, B1, and they are, due to their context, different themes. Perfect. Because if we're talking about an A2 and a B1, and it has to be familiar topics, and we are talking about teenagers, they have to talk about school. They have to talk about friends. They have to talk about parties. Okay. Now, if we talk about adults, they have to talk about work, ¿Darán certificado de asistencia? That I don't know about that. I guess they are. Okay. I guess they are doing. Okay. Now, Cambridge learned about that because it's obvious. They study that and they say, okay, I cannot have a 12-year-old taking this exam because the topics are not for the age. So it's not about the level of English, it's about the context. Okay? And that sometimes happens in our classes. It's not about the level of English, but it's about the context that we provide in the classroom and in the activities. The next two exams, TOEFL and IELTS, I like to call them cousins because basically what they do is help students go and study abroad. The American cousin of the IELTS or the British cousin of the TOEFL. Okay, now one more time, we're talking that is your world. If you ask me a kid in an A2 level, they like playing. If you ask me a 16-year-old that wants to go to university, then it's not only about his world, but it's starting to expand a little bit. And that's why TOEFL and IELTS consider B2 the starting level to get to universities. So everything has a logic, okay? So it's a logic that says, okay, in university, what are you going to do at university? If you go to university, it's something specific because you pick your career. I'm going to study marketing. Obviously, I'm not going to be learning about medicine. It's your world. But they're going to provide something extra, different courses or specific courses about math or things that probably you haven't seen yet, but you can understand. So that is the idea between levels. Task-based learning is based on that context, providing something that the student is actually connected with. Okay? So far, do we have any questions? I think no. Apart from the certificado de asistencia, I think we are fine. Okay. Good. Everything is clear. Thank you, Fabio. Okay. People from, well, you should know because I think this is very, everybody knows what this is. It's from a very important culture in our continent, not only Peru. So who can tell me what do you see in that picture? Kipu. Okay. Now, and Akipu is connected to which culture? Inca culture. Okay. Okay. So, see, for example, Paulina, Paulina Aguilar told us I didn't know what that is. Okay. So that is the context. If I use this to teach you something, it was used to do math, for example. Hector knows more about this and the colors and the materials and all that. But then you can connect with the student. That's why I was asking at the beginning, what country are you from? Okay. Now, have you ever done something like that? Like instead of teaching, it's Inca's culture. How about teaching Inca's culture or any culture that is from even from your city? In my city in Arequipa, we have a churahum, I think, or not? Yes, and do that in English. So why is that so important? Because it's easier for the student to relate to that. It's really good, all the information provided by the course books that they show you the culture of other country, but to be able to compare, it's easier to talk about what is yours first and then compare it with what is provided, and that is easy. That is easier for the student to learn. Remember, it's impossible for the brain to learn under stress, and it's proven that the brain only learns one thing at a time. So even though it's super fast and process a lot of things, it's learning one thing at the same time. So if you're teaching two things at the same time, focusing on the content and the language, it's going to be more stressful for your students. But if it is something that they already know, even in their native language, then it's easier for them to express it. Okay, so that goes that is connected about the relevance of how learning works, and that is the relevance of task-based learning. I'll talk about more about integrating culture because that is part of task-based learning. But let's go directly to why you're here. What is task-based learning? So, who can tell me? Okay, before. What happens if there are things to teach that can be best understood in the L1 language? Okay, that is, I think, from another webinar, but I can tell you something. When I learned English and when I was teaching in a language center, the rule was 0 L1, like it's not beneficial and you can confuse the students. New research have shown that it's beneficial to use some L1 depending on specific situations. So there has been a change in that paradigm, if you want to tell me. But if we are talking about task-based learning, the nice thing about task-based learning, depending on where you teach, if it is university, if it is a school, is that it's possible to work with cross-curricular topics. So if you know that they are covering, for example, if it is a high school and you know that they are covering a specific history or math or whatever, and it's possible to put it in your class, it's going to be easier for them to grasp the concept because they already are doing it. It's super fresh. And then you just put it in English. That is one idea. There are different ways of doing it. Remember, this is not like immersion, but task-based learning is connected to immersion too. I know most of us don't teach in an immersion program. So yeah, the thing is that you have to connect. Yeah, I know. It has to be maximized. But as I told you, there's new research on specific things. That is, but I can dive into that, but not today. But the thing is that what I want to say is that if they have already some background knowledge of something, it's easier to use that, but put it in English, that teaching new content and then put it in English. It would take double of time or even triple. Okay. So let's go back to the question. What is task-based learning? Who can tell me? Or have you used, if you have used task-based, what is task-based learning? Okay, teaching based on a specific task. Cool. Okay. Learning by doing. Okay, that is a good summary. Use authentic language to complete meaningful tasks. Okay, cool. Katya, use ChatGPT answer. It's an approach to teaching special language where the main goal is for students to complete meaningful use the language instead of just learning grammar rules or words separately. Okay. Facilitation of learning based on authentic tasks that are relevant to students. Okay. Nice. So I have some definitions. I don't like using specific definitions. I have a way of explaining things, but this is a formal definition. Task-based learning, or TBL, is also known as task-based language teaching, TBLT, and task-based instruction, TBI. Its principal focus is on the completion of meaningful tasks. So far, you have mentioned that. Let's go for another one. Task-based learning, TBL, is all about your students creating, producing, or designing something in class. Teaching them to work in English without artificial intelligence. Oh, yeah. We're going to work with artificial intelligence in a bit, so you're going to see something cool. But yeah, I agree that it's very difficult to make them think. Because the problem with artificial intelligence is that they don't want to create something. They want the artificial intelligence to give them the ideas. But there is a trick to trick them. Okay. I think artificial intelligence is great, but you have to know how to use it. And yeah, Katya, don't worry. We're going to work with artificial intelligence in a minute. But yeah, it's a tool. Remember, we are talking about tools. We are talking about tools, and everything that we use can be adopted. And in the past, we used to have, when I studied, we used to have cassettes, then CDs, then MP3s. Now everything on the cloud. Then new technologies appear, all that. And I'm going to show you something that you are going to be like students and how beneficial could be artificial intelligence if you control it. But let's continue with this. Creating, producing, or designing something in class. It could be anything, anything at all. So that's the power of this. But who has the power of setting the limits or creating these contexts is the teacher. Okay. Now, there is a flaw in artificial intelligence talking about that and connecting. And that's the thing that I like in webinars, that I can connect with the answers. Okay. People consider artificial intelligence intelligent, which is not true. And I'm not criticizing that it's bad. I'm saying because I code and my thesis was on how to create artificial intelligence. And so I know how it works on the background. So the thing is, it's a lot about statistics. And if you check even interviews with the creators, they say that they are surprised how easily people believe the answer provided by artificial intelligence is true, because they make a lot of mistakes. There is a term called a hallucinate. Okay, so that's the good thing. Artificial intelligence can be wrong. So if you start with that premise and you let students use it, then they can learn to select good and real content versus no, this is not true, or verify it. Okay. And that is also something that you develop with task-based learning, because there is some research. There is something that you have to think and learn about. And the thing is, everybody's talking about the 21st century skills. This has been going around for a while. And task-based learning, yeah, actually includes that, like collaboration, because you normally work in teams or at least in pairs. Creativity, because you have to come up with a solution. Maybe artificial intelligence is the spark of it, maybe not. And critical thinking. Okay, so it's impossible to complete task-based learning without critical thinking. It's honestly impossible. Okay, and that's the trick. If you want your students to be less dependent but use it as a tool, your activity should be such that the design of the activities should be in such a way that you motivate them to think critically. Okay, so a short interactive assignment that results in a finished product. Now, I disagree with the last part of a short interactive assignment, because I'm going to tell you a little story later about how to make this task-based learning, instead of a short interactive assignment, into a long-term, like your final term assessment based on task-based learning. Okay, so it's possible to expand it. That's the nice thing about teaching. Okay, now I shouldn't show you this, but you already read it. Okay, we have activities and we have tasks. What is the difference between an activity and a task? What is the difference between an exercise and a task? I like the word objective. Okay, Jubilee is saying the objective. Okay, let's see who can give me a task is always goal oriented. Oh, I like that one. That is, in a task you have purpose. Exercise is an action. El corrector es el autocorrector. Okay, it's an action. The goal. A task has a purpose. Okay. 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 Katia, I love Katia with the answer. General term when it learns doing the craft, it can be a simple exercise. Okay. Task with a purpose. Activity trains. Task achieve the goal. Okay. The length also. A specific type of activity, non-linguistic objective, and all that. Okay. Cool. Now, this is what is, I think we're about to finish with theory. It has to be something relevant. Okay, so it has to be something that is important for them. So that's why it's important that you know your students, what they want to get with English, what is their objective. Now, maybe you think, well, they don't know. Then you have to learn a little bit about them, because if you know what motivates them, then you can actually start creating relevant content for them. Okay, relevance and curiosity fuels motivation. I am a believer that I'm a believer that more important than learning about learning styles, like if they are useful, is more important to consider. You can call it motivation styles, but it's more motivation sources. Because if you learn how your students motivate themselves or what motivates them, you can teach them even Chinese without a problem. Even if they learn visually or they are kinesthetic and all that, just go for motivation. Meaning. So I don't know. Let's see. Yes, meaning. Meaning-driven tasks emphasize communication over form, and here is where normally teachers have yeah, they criticize task-based learning, basically because it's like it's true to be able to speak a language, the message is important, but it's also important that you say it well. Okay, so can you use task-based learning all the time? No, but it could be your framework and you can reinforce grammar and vocabulary and correct use of the language with different types of activities. Okay. Why I'm saying this? Because I do think communication is super important, but I teach, for example, business people, and I say, like, you are dealing with professionals. You get your ideas across, but you are in a professional level. Do you want to sound like somebody that is coming learning English in the from the neighborhood, or you want to sound professional? So it's also important given the context. Talking about students from university, they have to write papers. They have to write if they apply for universities. They have to write documents and all that. So obviously, it's important that they know how to write and speak well. But task-based learning focuses more, give emphasis in the meaning, in the communication part. I have modified that, and it's possible to change it a little bit to include both without losing the context of task-based learning. Goal, you already mentioned, is a clear goal. Now, when we mean goal, it's not like you are going to learn about simple past. No, it's more like you are going to produce a menu, but that example needs more detail. A menu for what? An itinerary for what? What do you want to achieve? What are the conditions? What is the trick? Okay. So, for example, in your school, if you are in a high school, we have now we have visitors in an exchange program, and 50% of those people are they cannot consume any gluten. So we have to design a specific menu for that week or something like that. So it's something like that. And if it is real, it becomes even better. Like you have an exchange program students coming to your school. So it gives you purpose, completion, and that is the other thing. It matters more completing the activity, so you are successful. You have the menu and it's successful and it's going to work, rather than having perfect grammar. So that is task-based learning. So they have to complete, and it's not only they have to complete. You have to create this urgency. So it's not necessarily a competition, but there are certain limits, time limits, and you have to have a timeline, and they have to complete certain milestones that they have to decide and all that, and you have some conditions. So it becomes more like a mission, like a game. When you are in a game and you have a task, you want to beat the opponent and all that. In Monopoly, for example, you want to get more properties, or if you play video games, there's some urgency to do it faster. Even in simple games like Mario Bros, if you just stand up like that, you have a time limit, and then the music starts going faster, and then you lose if you just don't move fast. Authenticity, and here is why we were talking about what your student need, and also about the context of your culture. That's why I put the quipu. Okay, so it's life, it's what they are doing. If we talk about kids, traveling probably is not going to motivate them much, because they are talking more about games. They are going to talk about playing sports, maybe parties and all that. If you talk about maybe your students, they don't like shopping, but they like traveling. If you're talking about business people, sometimes business people don't want to talk about business because that's what they do all the time. So they want to talk about networking, which is different. So they talk about work the whole day, but in their English class, they want to learn about networking, which is a little bit more personal. You talk a little bit business, but it's more personal. So that is what you have to know. It depends on the group. And then the thing with task-based learning is that one task that works with a group, chances are that is going to go terribly with another because they are completely different. Okay? So you have to adapt. This is the general thing. You have a pre-task, you have task, plan, report, and obviously feedback at the end. So to understand the pre-task is the introduction of the topic, all the content, everything that you want them to know, all of that. So here is very useful because one of the difficult things about task-based learning is creating this whole material. I'm fine, Rafael. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay. Creating material takes time, even if you have the tools and all that. But the course books provide that. Okay. Normally, the course books they already provide like a scope and sequence of what the student needs to know at a certain level. They have certain topics that they can relate to. Sometimes you have to adapt because it's not for our context or our culture. But that's the nice thing, because in some cases you can use our context to teach them, and you can use the context in the book to assess them. So think about that. It's the other way around, okay? But in the pre-task is everything they need to know. You can use the activities, and here is the trick when you want to focus a little bit on grammar. It's the Jedi version of the grammar. You teach them that grammar, and the activity the task that you design, it's in a context that will not necessarily force them, but would motivate them to use that grammar. Okay, so if you're just to give you a simple example, if you're talking about simple past, and then you start talking about World War II, okay, something like that. Or what I did the other day, and to give you an example, my student loves watching videos of history videos on YouTube, but not the typical long 15 minutes. There are these history videos on YouTube that are with memes. He learns a lot about, but everything is with memes, and they tell the story. So we were talking about World War II, and we were working with models of deduction. So I introduced the topic and everything. We were working, we found a nice video, blah, blah. And then we went to the task. And the task was that we had to imagine what would have happened if Germany won World War II. And we were very specific on which parts of what battles and all that, because he loves that. And then we start creating everything. Obviously, he started using some of the model of deduction. Sometimes he just didn't use it. We created a whole infographic and all that. So, but that started because I knew what he liked. This was a one-to-one session. I know I have done similar activities with groups too, but it's possible to do that. And that is the task, okay? The task itself is what you are going to tell the students to do. And the plan is not that you plan, it's their plan. The students have to plan and organize and all that and find the solution to the problem and see how they're going to solve it, how they are going to present it, find information and prepare and be ready. And finally, they report their findings. Okay, so they have to talk about that, the problem. It could be by writing, it could be by presenting, it could be however you expect them to show what they have learned. Okay, now remember, chances are that even if you're focusing on a specific grammar, they would say things in a different way with perfect grammar even, but it's not the grammar that is intended in the like in the course book. So what do you have to do? You have to combine this. If you want to test out just grammar, have tools to assess that specific grammar. You know that they manage that grammar, how they can use it in context and all that. So let's see how they apply it in a real situation. And if you ask me, even if we as teachers know a lot of grammar, there are lots lots of grammar points that we never use, even if we know how to use it perfectly. Okay, so and also depends on the context. If you're in a social situation, if you are in an academic situation, all that. So sometimes we push students too much for that. So it's a combination of how you assess different things. Task-based learning focuses on communication. Okay, so this is a lot of your work, the pre-task. Task, plan, and report is the students' work. So you are facilitating, helping, providing ideas, providing tools, checking that they are actually doing what they are supposed to do. Sometimes they get confused. And obviously that you provide feedback. Now, feedback is provided not only by the teacher, but also for other groups in terms of information. They have to note down questions that they want to ask, or depending on the activity that the task that you selected. Okay. Good afternoon, Dante. Okay. They work by themselves, Anna. Yes. Don't worry. Be huggies, be huggies. We are in the fun theory part of the webinar. I can guess that Katia knows Dante. Okay. So let's go for a hands-on example. Okay. So you are going to become students, but you are students and you are teachers. So I have to consider that in context. So if I, for example, choose a context of cooking, maybe some of you are going to like it. Maybe others you are not interested. Maybe others are like, eh. Okay. But if it is something about teaching, chances are that you would be a little bit more interested. But since I have known you only for 55 minutes, this is a risk. Okay. I'm taking a huge risk, all of that. So the first thing that we are going to do uh, for to do this hands-on. Remember, what is the first thing a teacher needs to do with task-based learning? What is the first stage? Pre-teach. Okay. So since I'm not going to pre-teach that much, we are going to pre-teach ourselves. Okay. So be familiar with the context. That is first, and then for this task, I need you to put you in the context of what we want to do. So it's funny, and I'm just going to tell you, I didn't talk to Katia Leon before the webinar. Okay, I didn't. Just to clarify, this is just pure coincidence. So what we're going to to do is we're going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. Okay, so what I want you to do is to scan that. If you can scan that code, and if you cannot, I can share. Let me see. I can share the link. I can share the link in the chat. Copy link. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So it's a Padlet, very popular. So uh my favorite tool in this century. Okay. So it's very simple. I think it should be open. I think some people are already connecting. I'm seeing that. Um, it's basically any artificial intelligence tools you use. It could be from not necessarily for teaching in general. If you have generated pictures, if you anything, you just put it there. Create, add a add something. I don't know. You can say ChatGPT, and you just publish it. Okay. So I'm going to I'm going to start. Let's do this. Okay, so you can see people are working on this. This is the link that I gave you. Okay, so people are actually working on this. Okay. So we have only ChatGPT, 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 Gemini. It could be anything, even if you use artificial intelligence for your daily life. Okay, anything that you use. So ChatGPT, Gamma for presentations, ChatGPT, Wiz, Grammarly, DeepSeek, Magic School, if I am not wrong. Oh, that's a good one. Gemini. Hello, Canva. Canva has obviously artificial intelligence resources to creating images. I have visited done research as a system for my classes. ChatGPT, Gemini, Deep Search, and so on. ChatGPT, Copilot, Dale, Google Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, Dali, Deep Research, DeepSeek, and all that. I chat with Meta when you are bored. Honestly, I have to confess, sometimes when I'm driving, I want to have a conversation. I'm not kidding. I get into Copilot and put it in conversation mode, and we just start talking. It's funny because when people see me on the street and when I'm in a traffic light, people think that I'm nuts because I'm talking and they see somebody's responding all that and it's obviously not on the phone. Okay, sounds good. We have enough, I think. Now, this is just to see how many tools you know. I'm just introducing the topic. Some of you use it more and all that. Normally, what you would do, but this is difficult in a webinar, what you would do is start start classifying this in certain way, any way of ordering or group them or just thinking of how you can use this. This was in general. So I have a question. From all the tools that you have, if you are familiar with that, because some of them are very general. So, which tools from here, who can tell me in the chat, which tools from here and for what would your students use them? How can your students use them to benefit their learning? Who can tell me? You can put it in the chat. Okay, we're sharing this. Let's open the chat. Okay. For communicative activities, I always use my students chart, AI, replica, summarize text and videos. Okay, summarizing. Ask for ideas and guidance. Okay. How to write an essay properly. Okay. Well, you're not. So you will start classifying, writing help. Okay. Sparking that idea. Or could be. Uh, Analyze the data, generally for interactive learning, ChatGPT for preparing pronunciation, zero level students. Oh, nice. Okay, so right now we are in terms of students. Now, which of these tools are useful for a teacher? How have you used these tools as a teacher? Okay, for speaking and pronunciation practice, TalkPa AI. Okay, to create avatars, ChatGPT to find English for specific purposes, ideas. Okay, okay, to create avatars, Gemini, perplexity, Canva to create original pictures of my slides. So this is something that you would do as the teacher. Okay, normally you will have in groups and you can present, you can guide them, but the idea is that first you have a big list of whatever topic it is, then you can have an order, you can classify them, you can group that information. So what you're providing is this information that they need. Can you include grammar here? And that is the trick. Purists on task-based learning would say no. And the reason of when they say no is because they are thinking of a short activity. If this is a task that is going to take 3, 4, 5, or 6 lessons, then that's the trick I like to do. One of the points of pre-task becomes that grammar that you're going to introduce. So it's possible, okay? Okay, so a lot of ideogram. Okay, I'm going to copy a lot. Flick to create videos, and ChatGPT and all that. So far is the introduction. We would have to work more on this, classify, then verify those groups, check the tool. Okay, how do you use that? Yes, this is useful for that. Some people can present a little bit on that, taking notes of recommendations. So somebody is using the artificial intelligence during this meeting too. So that would be the teacher's job. Okay. And then you just throw a slideshow from current slide. And then let's share again. Give me a second. And then you just share this. Now, I know some people are going to hate this activity, but some others are going to like it. And that happens too, because I don't know you. Okay. So this is something that happens, and it's very difficult to know you because we have been together 1 hour. And these are three of the most popular. This is called large language models. Okay. Artificial intelligence have different areas. Okay. And these three are part of the large language model, which basically is you can talk to them, they can respond, they can predict. The difference between using this or Google search or whatever is that when you want new ideas, these tools can create, well, they can copy, hallucinate, and provide new ideas. But if you search it in a regular like Google or Bing or whatever, or Yahoo in the past, they will provide things that already exist. Okay, just to clarify, this one use a term that is called a hallucinate. So normally the percentage of ideas that are true or valid are not as crazy, is not that high, but is useful because they can give you a head start of the context and all that. So we have the first logo is who can tell me the first logo? This one. What tool is this? ChatGPT. Ah, this they're paying attention. They're paying attention. The second logo is Copilot, and the last logo that is easy. Gemini. Well, not there is a Bitcoin or something like that, but this one is the Google Gemini. Okay, so we were classifying, we were talking about that, we were talking about students and how they use it. So I'm going to give you a task. Now, my task may be perfect, may not be perfect. I'm not going to tell you about it. Okay, so what I want you to do is to get into these tools, hopefully the three of them. I'll put the links directly to the tools in a minute if you don't have it. And you have to put this. I want a multiple choice quiz for my English students on the use of simple past. That is the prompt. Okay, you have to create a multiple choice quiz for English students on the use of simple past. So that is what you have to ask ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. So if you want, I can share with you direct links. So this is if you want to use GPT. This is if you want to use Gemini. And what am I missing? Copilot. Ah, see? Very good. That is one of the things that I wanted to see if you realize. Some how many questions? Is he level? What is the level and the age? Okay. We need to structure a well-written structure. Okay. What level of students? The same prompt can we? Perfect. So that is what I wanted, where I wanted to get. Okay. So what I want, if I put this in, I will get terrible results. Are they Peruvian or Chilean? Okay. So what I want you to do is to edit this prompt and be more concise. Think about the context, think about the level, think about the age, and provide how many questions you have. Okay, and once you have the perfect prompt, use it in the three alternatives in ChatGPT, use it in Copilot, use it in Gemini. Okay, be precise. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try to specify all the details that you want here. Okay, and then we will see what results, or you are going to tell me which result do you like more and why. Okay, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Let's do this in 3 minutes. Don't forget, you need to specify how many questions. Katya has created, is helping out with a prompt, create a 10-question multiple choice quiz for A2 level English students on the use of simple past tense. Include a mix of affirmative, negative, and interrogative forms. Wow. Paulina is 7 questions and she has posted one. What did they do? Even with the answer. Okay, okay. People are getting in. You can use Katya's prompt in and check if you get different results in ChatGPT, in Copilot, and in Gemini. I always forget Gemini. 2 more minutes. Nice. If I did this workshop, this webinar without artificial intelligence, you will need 30 minutes to create that quiz. 20 jubilees, nuts for the student. 20 multiple choice quiz. Ooh, questions. This is from Copilot. 𝐂𝐸t. I think the answer is 𝐂𝐸t. Quite boring. If you didn't like it, that's what I want to get. 1 more minute, and then we start getting your opinions on what things you got. Juliana put 9-year-old students. Oh, the more detail you give, the better answer. Okay, remember, we are comparing the 3 tools. I want you to try to use at least 2, but if you can use the 3 of them, it would be perfect. So it's ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. Well, let's put Google Gemini because there is another one. ChatGPT, Copilot, and Google Gemini. What is the capital of France? Where is the simple past there? Reading worksheet. Ooh. Okay, it's creating it. They are doing other things. Okay, I think that's enough. So what I want you to tell me right now, very quickly, if you actually saw a difference between the three tools, between ChatGPT, between Copilot, between Gemini, if there is something that you like, something that you don't like, the three of them are the same. Okay, ChatGPT created a quiz with options to choose. Okay, so that is it to save some time. Copilot is slower. Okay, takes some more time. All of them are unique, completely different. But as a teacher, because you're teachers, any of the quizzes appeal more to you? Like, this is the style I want to go, and why? Gemini, okay, there you go. Lina likes Gemini. If you can explain why, it's very useful. Jose oh, thank you, Jose. Comparing ChatGPT, okay. ChatGPT uses emojis, which make students feel friendly. Okay, it's using emojis. Also, it has the answer, so we can copy to another platform. Okay, so it's providing the answers. Okay, maybe if you provide the answers in another, we have to try. No, maybe how can we modify the prompt so I can get the answers too? It's more complete. It gives a lot of different answers or options. ChatGPT is a good one for exams. Okay, so there is a preference. Now, provided all 10 questions in one go. We just need to do some edition. Nice. Okay, Gemini and Copilot seem to be interactive and can be used immediately. Okay, cool. So you're getting into, okay, I can use this. You're comparing. Let's go back on how we started. We started with, okay, what artificial intelligence you know. Then which one can your students use? Then which one can you use as a teacher? And then I gave you this to compare. Now, my question is, this compare the results you get with ChatGPT and all that, is this a task? What you're doing? No, very good. Anna, good. Immediately. This is not a task. Okay? This is not a task because it doesn't have a clear objective and all that. This doesn't have, it doesn't have a task. It's just an activity. So that means that right now we are still in the pre-task stage. What did I do? I introduced, we saw, we analyzed, we qualify, we see characteristics and all that. And then I remember, I'm teaching you English and you are English teachers. So my task-based learning is focusing on the context that you are teachers. So I'm teaching you something else, how to use artificial intelligence tools or review or analyze or compare. So far, I'm still in the pre-task. Okay, it could be with grammar, it could be with anything. I'm just using the context of you being teachers. We have make a list, we have classify, we have talk about characteristics, and we have also compare. So just in the pre-task, we have done a lot of things. That helps you build up knowledge, get the students familiar with the topic, in this case, get teachers familiar with the topic, and now you're ready for the task. Okay, now I'm going to show you a prompt for a task. And if you see that it's not perfect and it's not a task, you have to tell me what is missing. Remember, a task should have meaning, purpose, goal-oriented. Okay? And obviously there is a presentation. What happened? Okay. So here it is. Create a task-based lesson plan, task-based learning lesson plan using artificial intelligence. Okay. So is this relevant for teachers? In this case, it is relevant because we are learning about task-based learning. And you are teachers and you love, your favorite activity is to create lesson plans, right? Nobody says yes. Okay. Well, you're going to create a lesson plan, but you're using artificial intelligence. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Copilot, you can use Gemini. We already saw you have picked the one that you like more. You can use that or you can change. You can use the three of them again. Okay. The topic is travel. Okay, so this is the topic. So the lesson topic is travel. The student's level is an A2. Okay, and the grammar focus is simple past. But you told us the communicate is focused on communication. Let's see how you can add that. Okay, from these contexts, is can this be considered a task or what or if there is something missing? Remember, it has to be relevant, have meaning, has to be with real life. It has to be goal oriented. So there is something that you have to create at the end. The purpose. Okay. So Jubilee is. What do you mean the purpose is missing? How can we add the purpose here? Okay, they describe their last trip, could be. But if we just put describe your last trip, it's not a task. What the topic is travel. So it has to have a goal, it has to have a purpose. Remember, I'm giving a purpose for you. Okay, so create a task-based learning lesson plan using artificial intelligence. The purpose that I have for you is to be able, and I can give you, so I can modify this and I say create a task-based learning lesson plan that motivates a student into researching about different places in our country. I want them to do that. If you want, you can add that purpose there. But right now, the task as it is, I want just to do it. Now, I'm using task-based learning to teach you about task-based learning. Okay? I'm not giving you, remember, I'm giving you the task as teachers. This is not something that I will give a student. So I'm using task-based learning to teach you task-based learning. Okay? The learning objectives, you can put it there, girl. That is the task. Your task is to create a lesson plan. I don't know if you're getting what I'm trying to do this here to do here. I'm not teaching you English. I'm teaching you task-based learning. So this is your task as teachers. Is the lesson for you. So your mission right now is to create a task-based learning lesson plan using artificial intelligence. What is the purpose? To create a lesson plan that is super nice and interesting for your students around the topic of travel with an A2 level, and the grammar focus is simple past. Let's see if artificial intelligence help this. That is the other purpose, because if you love, you want to do it really well. If you don't like artificial intelligence, you want just to put it to see that it's terrible. So there can be different motivations. Okay, so this is the task for you as teachers, your mission. If somebody got it, you don't need to paste it. You can start commenting if you like the lesson plan or it's just a terrible lesson plan. Remember, this is the mission as teachers. You have 1 minute. Let's give you a couple of minutes to do this. There's silence. Let's see if somebody got a lesson plan. ChatGPT recommends to use ChatGPT. No wonder why. Remember, your mission is to create a lesson plan. So I'm using task-based learning to teach you about task-based learning. Copilot. You can use Copilot, you can use ChatGPT, you can use any of them. Let's see, I'm going to use one. Okay, Paulina said that they all propose some steps of TBL, pre-task, task cycle, planning, report. So maybe she likes it and all that. So you're going to see that they propose different things. Okay. So what I got, and I'm going to show you, I just throw in a very simple, not a specific things. This is where you start analyzing. Okay. So this is Copilot. Okay. Let's zoom it a little bit. Okay. So task-based learning lesson plan postcards from the past. Students will use simple past tense to describe a fictional past trip and present their travel experience in creative postcard format. So there is something that they are producing. Yes. Okay. So that is a nice thing. Okay. ChatGPT provides you the possibility of printing materials. Pre-task. Build context and activate vocabulary related to travel and past tense, and they give you some activities. Okay, but you have a pre-task. You have a planning stage. Introduce the main task. Each student is not doing it in groups. I don't like that, for example. Okay, each student will create a postcard describing a fictional trip they took last year. There are two things two things that I don't like about this. The first thing is that it's individual. The second thing, so there is no planning, there is no discussion. Maybe with A2, you have to provide visual aids so they can discuss a little bit, probably, maybe because of the level. Postcards are not very relevant to them because nobody writes postcards. Well, I don't think a lot of people write postcards. Okay. So that is what you have to analyze. See, this is artificial intelligence and okay, so this is not going to work for my students. Describing a fictional trip they took last year. Show a model of postcard using simple past. So you use a model and all that. Brainstorm in pairs. Task. They write their postcards and all that. So you have to adapt it. You can use posters. You can use banners and all that, and then this feedback and all that. So right now, and the only thing that I like about this is that it has an objective and the stages. But if I was an attendee in this webinar and you present this to me as the professor of the university, I would say like, nah, this is not good. You haven't learned about task-based learning because it's not meaningful, the purpose is not clear, and there is no critical thinking and communication. So we don't want you fail. You didn't use, okay? So this is me teaching you task-based learning through task-based learning and giving you a mission. So this needs to be adapted. I can tell the artificial intelligence to adapt it, changing or whatever and all that. Okay. But in this case, this was not good. But it's a starting point for you as teachers. That is why when you use these kind of tools, 90% of the time is teachers' work, 10% is artificial intelligence. Okay. But, anyways, so the objective of this is just to show you how a task based learning should be designed. Not a good example for your students. Now you have to tell me, creating a lesson plan on task based learning is a good mission for you to be able to learn because you're teachers. So, my mission, did you like the mission I gave you or you didn't? You, are you
I'm
there?
sorry. I'm sorry. Back. Thank you so much, Jose Carlos. Can you hear me? I was having some technical problems.
Yes, I can hear you. We are
Great.
done?
Yes, actually it's 3:30. But just let
Okay.
me know. I can give you some short time. Well, actually it's 3:26. I don't know if you need more time.
Uh, no, more time they say. Okay, time flies. Sorry. Uh, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to just give them a bonus track. Yeah,
Sure.
I thought it was 2 hours. Honestly, I thought it was 2 hours, uh,
Oh, okay.
but
Let me
no.
check.
It's okay. If it is planned for 90 minutes, I can give them the email and we can contact. But I'm going to give them some bonus track. Okay.
Yes, not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you something that I like. So you already designed something. The idea was to design something for your students. And this is something that we need to, this is just a review of the pre-task. You list, you order, you compare, and then this part is where the students are more on their own. Okay. Now, what I recommend doing with task-based learning normally is that uh, don't go. I feel famous. Okay. I recommend that instead of being a short activity, make it a long with the would be your end of the term objective, and you use this backward design. Because if you use backward design and task-based learning, you're able to integrate task-based learning with the content of your course book and then with your assessment. And your little assessments would focus on content and that provide pre-task, 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 pre-task. And then you are preparing the students all the time to be able to be successful on the mission that you give them. Okay, so if you want to do some research on backward design framework. The other thing that is a bonus track is that I told you it's very important to know the profile of the student, the level, the context, and all that. But I mentioned motivation. I use this. It comes from games because I have a master's in gameful design and I love this. So if this is the type of players that you can find in your classroom and what motivates them. So if you actually identify this, the type of task, if they have this, autonomy motivates people that are like free spirits. Mastery, the students that are achievers. So they like certificate or badges. The player is just for the fun of it. Socializer, if you have activities that are that include relatedness and purpose. So there is a clear purpose that the philanthropist and the disruptor. These are the crazy students that are always trying to put you in problems, but I love them. So if you include apart from the A2, B1, whatever level of the age and all that, you include this profile, is going to help you to design tasks that are going to motivate them to work. Now, just to finish up, because we're on time, there are some case studies, foreign language training, the School Language of Studies. They basically teach languages to diplomats in the Department of States in the United States, and they have been using task-based learning for quite a long, and they discovered that they get results faster because There is a task. The task for a diplomat is to be able to communicate well with whatever the country they are going to go to. So that's why, and they include culture. Okay, and the other, it's me. Haha. Change is a gamified and personalized English program, and we use task-based learning, gameful design, and we mix everything on that. And everything is with missions. So people, even if it is adults, kids, and all that, it works really nice. You are going, you have to. I love task-based learning. I hope I show my passion for it during this webinar. Okay, now I think that is a wrap up because I got excited with time. And that's my email. Thank you very much. I hope you like it. There is a lot more to do. I think we covered 2 topics without knowing it. Some artificial intelligence plus task-based learning. So I like teaching in that way, teaching something else while you're learning something. So I hope you like it. And if you like it, vote for me. No, I'm just kidding. If you like it, I hope I see your chats in another webinar again.
Yes, thank you so much, Jose Carlos. Very meaningful and enriching session as usual. Interaction was great from both sides, actually. A lot of participations from teachers. Thank you, everybody, for joining our session. Thank you, all teachers. We really appreciate your time for being here and joining our July's online workshop. There's another one coming up in August. Okay, so please keep an eye on your inbox because you're going to get your certificate of participation. Yes, we do provide you with certificates of participation. Okay, we usually consider at least 50% of you being here in the session, okay? If I'm not wrong. So always please follow us on our WhatsApp group. Let me just share the link one more time. 1 second, please, because we're always sending some reminders, okay, for our upcoming events, academic events, and online workshops or other online webinars. 1 second. Okay. There you go. The link is in the chat box. Everybody is welcome to join our WhatsApp group. So, no, actually, you don't need to complete any form. At the time you got registered for this online workshop, you already provided your names, your full names, emails. So that's it. Okay, that's pretty it. So I see some teachers joining our WhatsApp group. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jose Carlos, again. So we're in touch. And see you,
Hopefully.
everybody. Yes, sorry.
No, I mean I'm happy to share anything that teachers need to. I like training.
Yes, of course. It was a very, very nice session as usual, Jose Carlos. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a pretty nice day. So see you around. Goodbye.